There was a big Supreme Court hearing today. It was about the mutilation of children in this country, something amazingly we do here, and it's lawful. Still having a hard time wrapping my mind around how the United States of America became that. But either way, I want to know what happened at SCOTUS today. So joining me now, my friend, soon-to-be father, Mr. Josh Hammer, host of the wonderful America on Trial. Josh, okay, the SCOTUS hearing, I caught a little snippet here and a little snippet there, but since you're a lawyer and a huge nerd, I'm sure you watched the whole thing. What happened?
Lawyer and a huge nerd. I couldn't ask for a more flattering intro, my good friend. Look, I'm pretty sure that Tennessee is going to win this case. So just some context here. So Tennessee passed a law called Senate Bill 1. It bans the use of puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones. I mean, you described it accurately. I mean, it's kiddie chemical castration. That is actually, it's genital mutilation. Oh. That is actually what Tennessee is trying to ban here when it comes to minors under the age of 18 there. The claim that the other side is making, and by the way, this case is styled United States versus Scrimetti. Scrimetti is the Attorney General of Tennessee. The United States means the United States because the Biden DOJ actually stepped in to sue this law here. By the way, Donald Trump should drop this lawsuit from his DOJ on day one, January 20th of 2025. He has the authority to do so. But in any event, today we had the oral argument here, and I think it's going to go Tennessee's way. So you saw Chief Justice John Roberts. He's obviously won the swing votes. He seems very skeptical of the United States' argument that this law is unconstitutional. They're making, Jesse, they're making a ludicrous 14th Amendment argument. I mean, they're making this argument basically that this amounts to discrimination against transgender people who are a protected class, the same way that race and sex are protected classes when it comes to American constitutional law. It's wrong on just so many different levels here. And I'm pretty sure that the votes are going to be there to uphold the constitutionality of this law. I do note that I was a little concerned that Justice Gorsuch was very silent. He was the one who went wobbly in the 2020 case, the Bostock case, back when they did a similar stunt where they read transgenderism into Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. So I was a little caught off guard by Gorsuch's reticence, his lack of asking any questions of counsel today. But even if he goes wobbly, and I don't think he will, but even if he does, the fact that Roberts is on board, Kavanaugh, Barrett seem like they're heading the right way there, I'm pretty sure the votes are there. I'll make just one final observation. Because this case is just such a ludicrous constitutional argument, you had some of the liberal justices saying some really, really crazy things. But in the case of this culture war magnitude, I think it really is accentuated here. And I'll give just one example. Ketanji Brown Jackson, who's, of course, Joe Biden's only nominee to SCOTUS, she was basically analogizing this act in Tennessee to the bans on interracial marriage that were overturned by the Loving versus Virginia case at the U.S. Supreme Court in 1967. She literally made that argument. I kid you not there. It's right there in the record there. Again, Jesse, more to the point here, because this is obviously happening in the background, the context of the presidential election. Donald Trump defeats Kamala Harris. She had that crazy transgender statement back in 2019. Donald Trump had a very effective ad on that. And I think the fact that Ketanji Brown Jackson asked that very question today and phrased it along those lines, this is why they lose, Jesse. This ultimately is why the left loses there. And personally, as someone who wishes them nothing but the worst, I'm very happy that they haven't learned any lessons, apparently.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, I'm going to ask you to do a little crystal ball thing before we get to the Hunter Biden stuff. Donald Trump's going to assume the presidency January 20th, 2025. That's 4 years. Are there justices, ours or theirs, you think he's going to be able to replace? Do you see that on the horizon?
I do. I saw the very popular rumor in legal conservative circles is that Justice Sam Alito is probably more likely than not to resign, probably over the next 2 years, just given the fact that Republicans control the Senate right now, 53-47. The Senate map in 2026 is not quite as auspicious, so it makes sense that you would do it sooner rather than later. The rumor is that Alito has been kind of looking to get out for a while. I have no kind of inside knowledge as to the veracity of that, but this would be a very good time for him to do so. Then the question, of course, is whether Clarence Thomas does the same thing there. I genuinely don't know the answer to that. I view it as pretty much a 50-50 proposition there, but I think Alito is probably the likelier of the two to step down over the next year or two. But it's entirely possible that they both do, which would actually open up 2 vacancies prior to the 2026 midterms if they happen 1 year after the other. As far as other vacancies, Jesse, sometimes you just don't know. I mean, Ginsburg passed away in 2020. That opened up a seat for Amy Coney Barrett there. There's always the possibility of a family medical emergency, something like that there. But yes, I'm pretty optimistic that Donald Trump's going to have at least 1, possibly 2, or potentially even more openings on the U.S. Supreme Court over the course of this next term there. And because of the fact that he had 3 picks the first time around, he could actually have an outright majority of 5 out of the 9 justices there. That is a lasting generational legacy if there ever is one there. So I hope that he gets that opportunity.
Yeah, I hope so too. All right, Josh, let's talk about the absurdity of the Hunter Biden pardon. Nobody's surprised. No one's surprised that Joe Biden pardoned his dirtball son. Joe's a dirtball. He raised a dirtball. We all get all that. But even cynical Jesse was shocked at the breadth of the pardon, a backdated 11-year pardon. Josh, please take it away.
Yeah, Jesse, I think you and I have the exact same thoughts on this. So, I was constantly over the course this past year trying to prepare my audience on America on Trial with Josh Hammer for this exact thing. I constantly said, do not believe this lying man for a second. He is obviously going to pardon Hunter Biden on his way out the door. Do not even for the slightest bit of time take his words even remotely seriously that he trusts the justice system. What a load of crap. Joe Biden has been an inveterate chronic liar his entire life, going all the way back, speaking of Clarence Thomas, going all the way back to the Clarence Thomas hearings back in 91 when he was parroting Anita Hill's lies about sexual harassment in the workplace. Joe Biden was working with Ted Kennedy to nuke Bob Bork back in 87. He's been a liar his entire political career. So I never for a second believed that. But like you, I also was caught at least a little off guard by the fact that he was not even trying to hide the fact that they were clearly tying this to Burisma. January 2014. How stupid, Jesse, do they think we are? What happened to the spring of 2014? Have we been sleeping under a rock for the past 6 years? Dude joins the board of Burisma. He's bagging in oodles and oodles of cash, millions and millions a year there. It's just so farcical, honestly. And even the way that they rolled this pardon out was very legally sloppy from a lawyer perspective, because they actually pardoned him then for all crimes up to the very evening of the day that the pardon came in this past Sunday. But they said this around 7 p.m. Eastern time. So Hunter Biden basically had 5 free hours to commit whatever federal crime he wanted to. You want to traffic prostitutes across state lines? You want to commit some sort of much worse attempt? Whatever it is, go for it. Drug laws, we know he likes those laws. He basically had 5 hours of total free reign there. So the whole thing was ridiculously sloppy. Unfortunately, from a constitutional perspective, the president's pardon power is quite plenary. It's basically absolute. So this is going to stand, unfortunately, there. But what an absolute joke.
Josh, do you think this paves the way? Hopefully this paves the way for all those January 6th political prisoners to get off scot-free? Surely it does, right? Surely Trump walks in and says, hey, all of you, go home.
So that definitely is my hope, and that is my expectation as well. And that is probably the number one silver lining of this particular pardon, this particularly self-serving, corrupt act of venality, the likes of which we have never seen in modern American political history. My hope is that Donald Trump does basically turn the tables come January 20th, 2025. I would think that the J6ers are going to receive a mass pardon around the first day or two in office. I will note that the Trump transition team has been a little more sober of their language. They're saying that it'll be a case-by-case ad hoc adjudication as to who receives a pardon there. That's fine. That's lawyer speak. That's legal language there. But especially in the aftermath of this, I think you and I both hope, and I do indeed expect that sort of pardon is going to happen. More generally speaking, though, kind of just zooming out for a second here, the Hunter Biden stuff, the lawfare stuff, Jesse, in light of these recent developments, what's good for the goose is surely good for the gander, right? I mean, a lot of people are just telling Donald Trump to take the moral high ground and be the bigger man come January 2025. You and I both know these consultants that are saying that there. I am so sick of this. When it comes to the issue of pardons, when it comes to the issue of lawfare, Merrick Garland, Jack Smith, all these hooligans there, it is time to turn the tables and to not seek retribution, but to get justice. Justice for those who have so grossly upended our constitutional order and undermined our cherished rule of law in this country.
No doubt about it. Josh, my friend, As always, thank you, brother. Appreciate you. I would thank you for coming to my YouTube channel, but I know how brilliant it is, and I know you love it here. So subscribe and watch. We're going to start really ramping things up and putting some funny stuff, some interesting stuff out there, some collaborations. Either way, my YouTube channel is officially the place to be. So stick around.